And joining us on the show today, great to have joining us, New York Times best-selling author, also reporter for the Times, has a great new book out about college football, particularly at West Point. It's called Soldiers First, Duty, Honor, Country, and Football at West Point. And Joe Drape joined us by telephone today. Joe, thanks for being with us. How are you today?
I'm great and ready for the Army's opener this weekend against San Diego State.
Good, yeah, good to have a chance to talk to you. I was able to read through the book, and I grew up in Long Island, not too far away from West Point, although I guess I'm typical, probably a lot of New Yorkers never having visited there. I got to get up there one of these days, but it's a special place. I got that feeling just from reading the book.
You know, it is, Doug. I'll tell you, I'm like you. I lived here for 13 years and never been up there. What brought me to the banks of the Hudson was watching the Army-Notre Dame game one night with my young son, Jack. He was 5 at the time. And, you know, you said I covered sports, and I have covered colleges, and it seems increasingly I was doing scandal stories, academic fraud, recruiting. You know, this summer I had to cover the Sandusky trial. And, you know, one day we're watching the game, the pregame's on, the cadets come marching into the Yankee Stadium. Pete Dawkins is on the television talking about duty, honor, country, and how football embodies it at West Point. And, you know, I had working knowledge of it, but not much. And over my shoulder, I hear Jack say, "Come on, Dad, let's go see the good guys." And that really resonated with me. I thought, you know, you're right. They probably do play the game differently and look at it differently. So, you know, I got on the computer and Googled a little bit, and first thing I come across is Coach Rich Ellerson. He was on his way to taking them to the first bowl victory in 25 years, and he was a guy from the West Coast whose dad went to West Point and retired his career military. His 2 brothers did the same thing. And he understood the culture, and what he wanted to do while they were doing well was embrace the values and what's good up there. You know, to say, hey, we are soldiers first, and our destination is, you know, to become second lieutenants and to be members of the world's greatest army. So, you know, it appealed to me there, and so I asked, and I was allowed to spend the year up there and get to know a group of young men who do play football at the highest level, but do it with a whole different perspective and a whole different set of demands. I mean, the amazing thing was football's probably the easiest thing they do in the course of their day, their week, their month. I mean, they have so many other demands.
It really is amazing. I mean, I'm one of those folks that will tune into the Army-Navy game every year just to kind of see some of the pageantry of it. You know, you're never going to see maybe 2 teams vying for the national championship, but that's not the point of that game. You see the cadets march in, you see the midshipmen come in, all the tradition that goes with that game, but it's not just that game. I mean, the home games at West Point are kind of special, and like you said, football practice is probably the easiest thing they do. It's amazing. You go into it in the book, you know, the classes they have to take, and then on top of that, the military training.
I mean, these guys are taking 21 and 24 hours a semester versus the 12 or 15 that they're doing at the University of Florida. You know, they're up at 5:30 in the morning in formations. They have inspections to pass, and they're not in the classroom. It's an Ivy League education. I mean, they are truly America's best and brightest. It's hard to get into. They're learning weaponry. In the summers, it's not in the weight room and hanging out at the McDonald's. They are in Fort Benning, Fort Riley. They're in Italy and Germany, learning the craft of soldiering. And, you know, the thing that most struck me, Doug, was on Saturdays, they're probably one of the only teams in the nation who steps on the field knowing they're not going to the NFL and they have no dreams of going to the NFL. But in May of their first year, their senior year, they're going to get a diploma that means something. They're going to get a commission as a lieutenant that means more. And they're going to get an envelope where the orders are going to say you're going to Afghanistan or Iraq or wherever we're in conflict, and, you know, you're the tip of the spear, you're the boots on the ground. So you are going to go see danger and protect the nation. You're going to do it for at least 5 years. That's your commitment. But many of them stay in for a long time. So, you know, they have a fresh perspective on Saturday afternoon. So their whole week's not geared to it. And when they get out on that field, it's just for pure joy and competition.
And you talk about the competition, not only the Army-Navy game, although you do talk about, I did not know this tradition, they talk about singing second. Can you explain that? I thought that was kind of a neat story.
Yeah, the Army-Navy game is the game that matters. Both those teams could be 0-10 into December when they play each other. It's the oldest, it's one of the oldest rivalries. It's for my money, the best rivalry in sports. And, I think President Kennedy said it best. He said, the real winner of the Army-Navy game is the American people. And the reason that is all right, all year they gear up for that game. And seeing second is a privilege given to the team that wins. Because as soon as the game's over, it's like two brothers, beloved brothers, beat the hell out of each other. But as soon as the game's over, they put an arm around each other because they know they've got a bigger battle to fight in the future. So the winner accompanies the loser over to the front of the cadet or midshipman section. Recently it's been the cadet section, and they stand at attention while the Army Black Knights sing their alma mater with their classmates and graduates. And then they accompany Navy, in this case, the winners back to their side of the field, where they stand at attention while the Navy sings second and sings their alma mater. And that's always a much happier song over there. Because, as hard as they play, the winner is as high can be, and the loser is as low as low can be. That's why everybody wants to sing second.
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting tradition there. And of course, you talk about the military conflict that a lot of these guys are going to see most likely in their career, and a great story, kind of a sad story too. But Tyson Quink, he's a member, I believe, of the 2009 team. Was injured overseas severely. I believe he lost both of his legs, right? And he came back to kind of inspire the team, didn't he?
Yeah, before the opening game, Coach Ellerson asked him and his wife, Tara, and Tara was the manager of the team, the first female manager in school history. That's a job that Douglas MacArthur's had, Frank Borman's had, really high-level people. And they did it right there on Trophy Point, which is a historic place on the banks of the Hudson. And Tyson was in a wheelchair. He'd lost both his legs, and he told these guys, his former teammates, about stepping on an IED and how his squad sprung into action and basically saved his life and evacuated him. And then a couple weeks earlier, he was able to do the same for one of his sergeants, and just how close they were and how the lessons they were learning at West Point were going to basically save your life and make you be able to lead young people into battle. And it was incredibly moving, and there wasn't a dry eye in the thing. And, it reminded everybody what they were there for and just how precious and fragile life is. There is a happy ending to this story, gratefully, Doug. Tyson and Tara are now back at West Point. He's coaching and teaching, and they just had a baby girl named Taylor.
Oh, great. Yeah, great. And the book is filled with those kind of stories. Again, it's called Soldiers First, Duty, Honor, Country, and Football at West Point. Joe, wish we had a lot more time we could spend to talk about it, but I think we gave the audience at least a taste of it. Do you have a website? Can we get a hold of you and the book?
You can go to joedrape.com. You can go to Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble. You can go to your local bookstore. It was a powerful and wonderful experience for me and my family to have that insight, and these guys are definitely worth reading about.
Joe, pleasure to talk to you for a few minutes. We'll look forward to doing it again. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Doug.